Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey, and as always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on this beautiful Friday evening? The week's over, work week's over, except we got about an hour of time before we get all sit and relax for the rest of the evening. But we have a pretty big show planned. We had Wednesday. Wednesday was a pretty good Harvey. The Harvey Hour fired up, had a couple good topics. Anthony Richardson, could it be another Trey Lance situation? That's what I discussed. I also talked about my 5 QBs under the most pressure. A little spoiler alert, Josh Allen topped that list. So if you guys didn't see the clip, you can watch it. Still, it's up right now. But I just want to know before we jump in, how you doing today? How was your day? How was your week? You ready for another episode of the Harvey Hour?
I'm always happy on Friday.
Always happy.
Yeah, I'm always happy on Friday. Looking forward to the weekend. Looking forward to the show here. We got some really good topics. Can't wait to get into it, Nate.
Yeah, let's, speaking of that, let's jump right into one of our topics here. So our starting topic for today's show is, so a writer for The Athletic, I believe is, GM, former Seahawks, Saints, and Dolphins GM Randy Mueller said that there was a lot at stake for Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos this season. For those who remember, the Broncos have missed the playoffs for 7 consecutive seasons and only had one winning season within those 7 seasons where they missed the playoffs, and they finished 5-12 last year. They also had head coach Nathaniel Hackett, who turned out to be a large part a bust from the head coaching position. So I want to know, do you think Sean Payton, Russell Wilson, and the Broncos bounce back after last season's abysmal turnout?
I think they'll be better. I'm not sure how much better. They may not make the playoffs. I do think they'll do better than 5-13. I think the article that you gave me from Randy Mueller, a lot at stake for Russell Wilson, is spot on. I think there is a lot at stake for him. He played very poorly last year compared to his overall stats for his career. And I think the team he was with had something to do with it, right? The offensive line and the tools that he had, the skill players that he had. There were some injuries there, and he started to show some life there in the last couple of games or so. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of question marks with him, and I think the Broncos feel it too. They brought in Jared Stidham to back him up and actually maybe compete a little bit for it, and to send a message to Russell Wilson that, if he doesn't perform, then he might not be out there on the field. So I thought it was a good article, and I do think that there is a lot at stake for Russell Wilson next year.
I'll say this. I think Russell Wilson is probably under, the most pressure, or I put him at number 2. He's under, a lot of pressure this season because he has a brand new head coach, so the head coach can't be the excuse anymore. All of his weapons are coming back. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, his running backs are coming back. One of the biggest problems for the Broncos last season was their offensive line. I think Russell Wilson had like 55 sacks last season, so it was absolutely ridiculous. His offensive line, Sean Payton came in and started to rebuild that offensive line, and their defense, passing wise, was one of the best in the league with Pat Surtain at the cornerback spot. So there really should be no excuse for the Broncos next season. I mean, think about their best matchup last season, surprisingly, where they played their best, was the last week against the Chargers, where Russell Wilson had actually a really, really good game, and they actually played spectacularly. But then also when Russell Wilson was healthy, they played very well against the Chiefs. That was the surprising thing. They played the Chiefs extremely, extremely well. And so let's bring up the schedule here. This is the schedule for the Broncos heading into next season. So immediately, you start off with potentially 3 out of 4 pretty easy games. The Raiders, is Jimmy G going to be there? That's the major question. Washington with Sam Howell, that's going to be, something. The Dolphins, they are going to be a problem if Tua is healthy. And then the Bears, who people are saying this could be Justin Fields' make it or break it year, even though it's 1-2 years into the league. So I think that's a little bit unfair. But then you get into the harder ones where you play the Jets and the Chiefs. Who knows what Jordan Love will look like, but I don't know if that's exactly a hard matchup. And then you go into the Bills. So it gets harder sort of at that midway point. And then you end, depending on whether the Lions' defense is better, you could end easy because you play the Raiders last week of the season. The Patriots, we don't know what they'll look like. Is Mac Jones going to be benched by then? Who knows? But you have, a pretty decently tough schedule, I would say. I would say this is about middle of the pack, not too hard, not too easy.
I would say, the Raiders, they probably can win that game.
Yeah.
Washington, they win that game. I think they lose to Miami. They win against the Bears. I think they lose the rest of them there before the bye. Maybe they could beat Green Bay. I'll give them that one. That's 4 wins. I don't think they'll beat Buffalo. Maybe they beat Minnesota. That's 5 wins. They can beat the Browns. That's 6. The Texans, they'll win. That's 7. I say they win one of them against the Chargers, so that's 8. I don't think they beat the Patriots, and I think they beat the Raiders at the end. So that's 9 wins. Maybe they get the 9 wins this year instead of 5.
So that would
they probably consider that a success.
That would be about double of where they were last season, and that's what I expect. I expect the Broncos to be one of the teams where they do double their win total, at least near it. You say 9 wins, I'd probably give them 9 wins as well. But it's about double.
10.
They went 5-12 last season, so I say it's about double. But the comparison between where Russell Wilson was last year and where he may be next year is quite interesting because he had a huge drop last season. For instance, completion percentage went from a career average of 65 all the way down to 60.5. His passer rating plummeted. Career average of 101.8. It was 84.4 last season. Interceptions were up. He had 11 and only had 16 touchdowns, the lowest of his career.
Yeah, he averaged almost 30.
I think it was like 29.5 or something like that. Yeah, so all of his averages were far, far down. And then what we're seeing right now, Sean Payton is a phenomenal head coach. In the 2000s, you could say that he's probably a top 3 offensive coach. You have an improved offensive line. All your weapons are getting healthy again. So, and besides, the defense last season was one of the better ones, even though you lost Bradley Chubb. We'll see what that does for you again. But, you lost Von Miller as well, yet the defense was still pretty good, and especially with Pat Surtain, your defense looked pretty good. So my guess would be you're about right, but I'm sticking to my guns. You'll probably be right. And people are saying that Russell Wilson, he's going to have a comeback year, and it was all Nathaniel Hackett. I don't think it was all Nathaniel Hackett, but having, that bum of a coach, he didn't know how to manage clock. We saw that in week 1 against the Seahawks. He didn't know what to do. He waited 40 seconds before calling a timeout when you could have kicked it was an entire mess. So I expect it to be a little bit better, but I do not think we will ever see, the Super Bowl winner of Russell Wilson that emerge once again. Because I just don't think he has anymore. He's aging. He's getting hurt more. Before the past 2 seasons, right?
Quite banged up last year. He had a shoulder injury,
right?
A concussion,
yeah,
and one other injury. What was his other one?
I'm not sure.
A leg injury, I think.
But he suffered a concussion. I think in the Chiefs game, he got crushed to the ground. But what we're seeing now is his first, his first 7, 8 seasons, he played all 16 games. Then you go into, the past 2 seasons, he's missed a game or 2. So now, could it be, he wants to be more conservative of his body so he won't run more? That's the big thing. These mobile quarterbacks, the large part of why they were successful, look at Kyler Murray and Josh Allen, even Patrick Mahomes, Marcus Mariota, when he was, building up in his career, a large part of his, albeit Marcus Mariota didn't have much success, but most of his whatever success you define as, all those quarterbacks, those are mobile quarterbacks. Running is a huge part of why they're successful. When Kyler Murray in the playoff game against the Rams was too scared to run, the Cardinals couldn't do anything because the Rams defense they were just locking down wide receivers. It was Kyler Murray. It was up to Kyler Murray to extend plays, and now that he's afraid to run, that takes out a huge part of why Kyler Murray is successful. We saw Patrick Mahomes. Now he's not a runner like a Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts or Justin Fields, but we saw him in the playoffs when they needed to get a big gain, a big running gain. It was Patrick Mahomes who would get that large gain. So my guess would be Russell Wilson. I think Sean Payton's going to want Russell Wilson to run more, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I do think Russell Wilson will take a couple more hits. But I think in order for the Broncos to be successful next year, that's exactly what they're going to have to do. And, Sean Payton, like I said, he's one of the best offensive coaches in NFL history. I think Russell Wilson's got the good head coach behind him to make him succeed and come back from whatever last season was.
The other reason, their offense was terrible last year, and Russell Wilson was a big part of it. Sean Payton will make that better, and they have a good defense. I mean, their defense is good.
Yeah.
Right? So if that that continues and they just improve the offense some, then they ought to be able to get to 9 or 10 wins.
You would expect that.
I mean, their schedule is not that tough, actually. I mean, they're in a tough division.
They are.
They're in a tough division, but the games they play outside the division, a lot of them look pretty easy, right?
Yeah. So that's what we're looking at.
Nobody knows what Green Bay is going to be like, right?
No one knows.
Yeah.
And could Jordan Love be the next Aaron Rodgers?
And I would say
I don't
the
think
Chargers
so, but
are a little bit of a question mark too, right? With their head coach. I
don't like Brandon Staley, but Kellen Moore, Kellen Moore led the Cowboys offense to 2 30-plus point seasons offensively. So I'm excited to see how Justin Herbert and Kellen Moore work together, like how that works out. I expect them to be back in the playoffs regardless of the division they're in, even in the harder AFC. I expect them to be there. And I think, honestly, depending on how Jordan Addison works out, if Mike Williams and Keenan Allen can stay healthy. Now, Austin Eckler is a big part of that offense, and he's still dealing with, he doesn't love his contract. But if everything goes as planned, the players play and the players stay healthy, who says the Chargers can't contend for the AFC West title?
No.
Who says that they can't?
The Chiefs. Chiefs say it.
Yeah, the Chiefs are a big dog, and they're definitely going to get in the way of the Chargers' potential hopes to take the AFC West. Let's jump into our next topic. So we're talking some Patriots once again, and I find this very, very fascinating because it's something that I talked about recently. So a report came out that friends of Bill Belichick are afraid that the Hall of Fame head coach may not retain his job next year if the Patriots, sort of fall under. They do poorly, which some are expecting, especially with the comeback of Mac Jones. Bailey Zappi fans still hate on Mac Jones for how poorly he did last year. I think you're coming around to that idea a little bit more. It wasn't all Mac Jones' fault. But we talked about this before, but now it seems like, people close to Belichick are now even worried. It's not just, a reporter or a writer says this. It seems like friends of the Hall of Fame head coach are worried. So I want to know, is there a possibility that Robert Kraft decides to fire the almighty Bill Belichick?
I would say if he wins less than 7 games, there's a very good chance of it.
7 games.
If he wins less than 7 games. If he wins 5 or 6 games, then I think there's a fair chance that he will get fired.
Really?
Yeah. And I think it would be a huge mistake.
Okay.
I mean, the guy is he's close to having the most wins in NFL history. He's won 6 Super Bowls. Nobody's ever got. No, actually, he had a couple more when he was with the Giants.
He has 8 total. Yeah.
Yeah. So, he's a Hall of Fame, ranked up there as one of the greatest coaches of all time, if not the greatest coach of all time. I think it would be a mistake to fire him, but Robert Kraft is, it's all about winning, and he's tolerated quite a number of seasons now after Brady where they made the playoffs once and get crushed.
Yeah. And
they didn't make it the 2 out of those 3 years. So I think he's looking for a playoff berth this year and a win in the playoffs, or a very competitive game. And if he doesn't get that and the win total is under 7, then I think there's something to worry about.
I will say this. I've talked about this before. Does Bill Belichick at the current moment deserve to be fired? No. Because there's one thing, and that's why I would still rank Belichick as one of the top coaches in the league. CBS Sports had him at number 3. You could argue he'll be above Kyle Shanahan because Kyle Shanahan can't, there's a lot of injuries on the 49ers for years at this point. Something is wrong there. Brock Purdy got hurt. The entire quarterback system got hurt. They couldn't get over the hump of being successful. However, Belichick is still one of the top coaches in the league. So at the current moment, no, he does not deserve to be fired. But there's also truth to, why there should be worry about, his job, the security of him retaining the head coaching job with the New England Patriots. In his total coaching career, Belichick is 79-87 without Tom Brady. And since Brady left for Tampa, the Patriots are 25-26, which includes the wild card game where they got absolutely blown out and the Bills did not punt a single time. In fact, the Bills didn't even punt until the following year, I believe, after the first half. So Belichick, and now recently, we saw this at the start of 2019, Belichick has a tough time against mobile quarterbacks. In the first 8 games of the 2019 season, when they were beating up on teams like the Jets and exploding on terrible teams, they were the number 1 defense at that point, And then they go into week 9 against the Ravens, and Lamar Jackson, who would ultimately end up being the unanimous MVP, the Patriots had no answer for Lamar Jackson. And we saw it even last year against the Bears. The Bears, if I recall correctly, they were about to have the number 1 pick. They had the number 1 pick. And what happens? Mac Jones comes in and looks terrible. Bailey Zappi has his little moment, but in the second half, it was more of the same. It was pretty bad play, and Justin Fields stomped all over the Patriots. So Belichick has this sort of, reputation of not being able to slow down super mobile quarterbacks. And now look how they start off the season with a mobile quarterback, 2 mobile quarterbacks, in fact, with Jalen Hurts, who just made it to the Super Bowl and outplayed Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl, and a healthy Tua Tagovailoa, who is undefeated against Belichick in his career. Then you go up against Aaron Rodgers, who seems reinvigorated and rejuvenated and actually happy to play football. Then you go up against the Cowboys, who had a top-tier defense. And who knows, CeeDee Lamb might stomp all over him. However, last time I think Mac Jones played the Cowboys, they lost in overtime, but Mac Jones had a phenomenal game. Then you go against the Saints, who, recently have had a pretty good defense, and now they won't have, Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston at quarterback. They have Derek Carr, who is at least respectable. Then you go and visit your old buddy Jimmy G if he could stay there. Then you finish out, the first half or so of the season against the Bills, who you haven't been able to stop, and Tua, again, who's undefeated against Bill Belichick. So the Patriots have a very, very difficult schedule. In fact, they're tied for the 3rd hardest in the NFL.
They have such a hard schedule when they didn't make the playoffs last year. Generally, you get a little bit of break when your team doesn't make the playoffs. They give you a little lighter schedule so you can compete a little better. I don't know why that happened. I don't understand it.
I'm not too sure. But what I think is honestly true is there's a large chance. I think I said worst case scenario, Patriots go like 5-11 or 5-12 or 6-11. They miss the playoffs. Belichick gets fired, and Mac Jones gets benched for Bailey Zappi, and eventually the Patriots release him or trade him or whatever next season. However, I think the more realistic opportunity is, and what's crazy is that when I did my first when I did my first standings predictions, I actually had the Patriots winning 9 games, because I do think with Bill O'Brien, with Devontae Parker, now extended, with Juju Smith-Schuster, hopefully with DeAndre Hopkins, I think this team can win 9 games. Without DeAndre Hopkins, I think DeAndre Hopkins brings a win to the Patriots to a 1.5 for the Patriots. On the Chiefs, he might bring a half win. I don't think he brings a full win, because guess what? They have Patrick Mahomes. They rebuilt their O-line in about a season. They have Isaiah Pacheco in the backfield. They have some pieces. They have Kadarius Toney, who showed some flash.
Healthy.
Yeah, if he can stay, that's the big thing. If he can stay healthy. So that's about a half win, because it isn't like you're not bringing in a wide receiver 1 where they desperately need a wide receiver 1. Now the Bills and the Chiefs are still in contact with D-Hop, so we'll see if one of those teams comes in and pays him the money he's looking for. I think the Patriots should give him an offer that he wants, so you could actually secure him, because guess what? The one thing Belichick hasn't done is draft wide receivers very well. In the past over a decade, he's drafted, I think, 1 receiver that has actually been, somewhat viable. Actually, 2. We'll see what Tyquan Thornton looks like. But Malcolm Mitchell probably had the most potential as the wide receiver. He won a Super Bowl in 2016 with the Patriots. That was the Falcons Super Bowl, and then retired in that offseason. So that was the only receiver that had a lot of promise. But outside of that, since 2010, they've really had no receivers that they can go to and to be successful for them. So I think right now, no, Belichick should not be fired at the current moment. Next year, if they do what Vegas says they will, go about 7.5 wins, I think there should be a serious conversation of whether or not you should move on, because right now Belichick's grip on the Patriots is very, very strong, and Kraft is putting his foot down and saying, "This is still my team." And I think Kraft had a party recently, and Mac Jones is apparently cozying up to Robert Kraft and forming a pretty strong relationship with Robert Kraft, something that Brady did, and actually saved Brady's tenure for a couple of years when Belichick was ready to move on to Jimmy G. So maybe Mac Jones is making a nice moving in a piece in check, making sure Robert Kraft's in check to make sure Mac Jones retains his job?
Yeah, well, if they fire Bill Belichick, who do you think they would hire?
That's a good question. How many head coaches are going to be available? Who's getting fired?
You're not going to replace him with anybody who's better.
I
Right?
mean,
who would they find that's better than Bill Belichick?
There's there are two coaches that might be better than Bill Belichick, and that's what CBS Sports ranked him. Kyle Shanahan, who will stay as the 49ers head coach, and Andy Reid,
Well,
who's
Andy
going to
Reid
stay
has a lot better talent on his team than the Patriots did, right?
Well, they have Patrick
The
Mahomes.
quarterback is head and shoulders over,
right?
And I guess the defense probably, maybe the Patriots.
I'd say the Patriots have a better defense, yeah.
But offensively, the offensive scheme was a hell of a lot better for the Chiefs than the Patriots last year.
Well, because they actually had a guy calling offense.
The Patriots can improve their scheme,
which they
could
should
help a lot.
You know, it's
and I think they should
pretty
try
easy.
to get Hopkins. What's the story there? I mean,
He wants money. He wants money.
How come he is still holding out? I would think he would have made a deal by now. I mean, coming up, time is ticking here. 2 weeks we'll be having the camps will open.
Yeah. Well, you know, D-Hop's trying to get that money. So, you know, it's the first team to give him, you know, that big dollar sign is going to get him. And right now it's the Patriots and the Titans. The Bills are interested, but, you know, they want him at a pay cut.
They're interested too.
The Chiefs are interested. They're still, you know, keeping in contact with him. But the Bills lowballed him. So I don't think D-Hop's going to go to the Bills. It seems like they want him to ring chase, embrace the ring chasing culture, and take a massive pay cut, which D-Hop isn't going to do. And D-Hop recently said that he wants to play till he's about 37 years old. So he thinks he's still got a lot of juice left, a lot of juice in the tank. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what is going on with the D-Hop situation. But I do agree, obviously. I think the Patriots should sign him because their one big hole in that offense is to get a superstar wide receiver, a true wide receiver one that could draw two cornerbacks to open up the field for the rest of the receivers. All right, well, coming up, so Chris Paul is holding out hope to start alongside Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Is that a good idea? We'll discuss that. And also, we rank our top 5 NBA jerseys in the history of the NBA. What is the best NBA jersey of all time? We debate that right after this.
Introducing Video Podcasts on Spotify.
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch
or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe,
interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
Podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.
You have a lot to say. Maybe you've thought, I should start a podcast. Meet Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast ever. It's a powerful mobile app and web tool that lets you record a podcast anywhere and distribute it everywhere. It's great whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. And it's 100% free. You can record your show straight into Anchor on your phone, iPad, or the web, using any mic you want. Record alone or with friends or co-hosts anywhere in the world. You can add background music and transitions, and your listeners can send you voice messages that you can incorporate right into your next episode. If you want to produce your show using another app, you can upload your own audio directly from web or mobile and still take advantage of Anchor's totally free podcast hosting. Once your podcast is ready to publish, Anchor can automatically distribute it to every major podcast platform. That includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, so your listeners can hear your show wherever they want. And on the web, you can see detailed analytics about how people are listening. Plus, you'll get a great-looking profile page where anyone can listen to your podcast or subscribe to it. And if you want to ask your audience to support your work, Anchor makes it easy to collect monthly payments from the people who love your podcast and want to see it grow. You really don't need a recording studio, expensive equipment, or a bunch of technical knowledge to deal with a podcast feed. Just get started and join the diverse community of podcasters already on Anchor. We can't wait to hear your podcast.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey, and as always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic. So, The Athletic's Sam Amick did a little article discussing how he thinks that, or he writes that Chris Paul is holding out hope that he could be in the starting lineup alongside Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. And we have a little soundbite here that I'm going to play. This was Chris Paul when asked whether or not he'd be comfortable or ready to start or to come off the bench, and this is what he had to say.
Be coming off the bench, playing with the second unit that's a lot younger than the Warriors of the past have been with J.K. and Moses. Just what do you think of their depth, their bench players that you might be playing alongside?
You coaching?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what the situation is going to be yet. You know what I mean? So I think that'll be for us to figure out once we get going.
You've never come off the bench in your entire career. Is that something that you'd be willing to do?
Like I said, it'll be a conversation for us when camp starts or whatnot. But me and Steve have talked or whatnot. But that ain't something that you be like, "What up, man? Where you starting? You coming off?" You know what I mean? So I think we'll figure all that stuff out in camp.
So it seems like he believes he's probably going to start for the Warriors. So I want to know, do you see Steve Kerr adding Chris Paul to the starting lineup alongside Curry, Klay? Do you take out Wiggins for Draymond or whatever? Do you see Chris Paul being a part of that starting lineup?
I don't, actually. I don't see it. I mean, he is not the run-and-gun type point guard. He is a half-court set guy, and that's not the Warriors' game. And I don't see Steph Curry being happy that somebody else is going to be handling the ball and controlling the distribution of the ball like he does. I mean, he's a great point guard, Steph Curry. He's a great shooter. He's a great shooter and a great point guard. So why would you put Chris Paul in there as the starting point guard? I don't think so.
I mean, that is a good question. They do run a different style of offense. They're more running gun, and Chris Paul is set up at half court, slower, pick and roll, that type of an offense. But I just want to bring up a little statistic here. So this is Chris Paul and his starting stats. So Chris Paul is a starter, about 18 points a game, about 4.5 rebounds, about 10 assists per game. He's shooting about 50%, and he's shooting 37% from three. That, in my mind, that's a Hall of Fame point guard career. Now, probably first ballot Hall of Fame. Like, that is a true point guard Hall of Fame statistical line. And this is Chris Paul off the bench. Oh, wait. He hasn't played a single game off the bench. So in his mind, even at 38 years old, 39 years old, he believes he's going to be a starter again. And I have a problem with that on multiple accounts.
Now put his stats back up there again.
Which one?
Not those. I mean, those are easy to see. But what is Steph Curry's career assists per game?
I'll look it up right now.
I mean, because he beats out Chris Paul in rebounds and points per game for sure. Steph Curry's points per game are up in the high 20s.
So Curry's points per game for his career is 24.6. His rebounds are only 0.2 higher. His assists are 6.3. But he is a better shooter, almost 50% from the floor and nearly 43%. 48% from the floor and about 43% from three.
He plays point guard.
He does play point guard.
So
about 3 assists.
So you're taking
below.
a step down by having Chris Paul as your point guard.
Well, I mean, you're getting less scoring and about basically about the same amount of rebounds. The assists, though, Chris Paul is more of a distributor. You have 9.5 compared to 6.5, so that is what it is. But I will say this. So I harped on this the entirety of last season when we discussed the Warriors because they start off 0-7 to start the season, I believe, on the road, and it was abysmal. And it turns out, going to the season, they have the same problem that I saw almost immediately. They're too small. They are right now the second smallest team in the NBA. Their average height is about 6'2". That's tiny. And here's last year. They were 30th in turnovers. They turned the ball over an immense amount. They didn't get to the free throw line. 30th in free throw attempts. They were 28th in fouls. They fouled a lot as well. 25th in blocks, 14 in steals. So they were below average on defense. So they weren't a good defensive team. Chris Paul does not add a lot of defense. They were high in turnovers. You should basically, that might go down a little bit because Chris Paul is more a distributor, a mature distributor, not going to have Jordan Poole, tossing the ball and being, hectic with the ball, create these fancy plays. 30th in free throw attempts. Generally, a lot of your free throw attempts come from attacking the basket or giving it to a big man who can then just body his way through down low and dunk the ball and get a foul call on you every now and then. The Warriors don't have that. They got Kevon Looney. So if Chris Paul is going to be in the starting lineup, this would be their starting lineup. It'd be Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney. You take Wiggins out, and Wiggins was a very key part of your finals run, what was it, 2 seasons ago? So he was a huge part of your run. So if you're going to tell me that Chris Paul is going to start, I think this is a terrible idea because there's no chance. I literally see 0 chance that the Warriors are going to repeat with Chris Paul in the starting lineup. I think Chris Paul's role should be you go in the second lineup, you teach like Moses Moody and Kuminga, all these younger guys, teach them how to work within an offense. Get him up to speed. Be that, veteran player. So when you come out in the second team, it's not just a bunch of kids on the floor. You could actually have a key distributor that could help out with getting you to your spot and everything like that. I think it's very, very important that that's what Chris Paul's role should be. But we'll have to wait and see because I genuinely don't think that Chris Paul should be expecting to be part of the starting lineup. And if he is, I really think he's going to be disappointed. Because then Steve Kerr is going to need to move someone who is, a huge, huge integral part of that offense. Honestly, who do you think that they would want to bench? Would you bet? I don't think you'd bench Klay. Would you bench Wiggins? Would you bench Draymond? Who would you bench if you're the Warriors? If you're going to accommodate Chris Paul?
Well, who's the shooting guard?
Right now, it's Klay Thompson.
I don't see benching him.
I don't think you can.
I don't know how he fits in the lineup. You can't bench Wiggins, and you got to keep Looney in there. He's the only tall guy you got.
Right.
So I don't see how it fits. As I said, I don't think there's room for him to be the starting point guard.
So you're saying that? I
think it makes sense. I can see it making sense. Him coming off the bench.
Okay.
For during the season, 20 to 22 minutes a game. Yeah,
really?
Yeah. I don't think the guy has injury issues.
Right.
If you play him too much, he's going to be subject to he's going to have problems with the injuries. So I think that he'll come off the bench and they'll go to a half court. They'll have 2 offenses. They'll have a half court set when he's on the floor, and they'll do the run and gun when Curry's the point guard. Well, and I think that could make some sense.
If you're dropping
they have. Do they still have Iguodala, or is he still on the team?
He's one of those veteran guys that plays a game.
He could be out there in the half court set. They don't run that much.
Iguodala doesn't play. He's gonna be. He's like the 15th man.
Well, they need to maybe build their bench around a half court set.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But then if you do that, right? Let's say you build that second unit, right? So you got Moses Moody and Kuminga and everyone else out there. What are you going to do if Kuminga or Moses Moody are in that first lineup? Well, what if they're with Curry, Draymond, and Klay, and Looney? One of them swaps out. They're going to be in a different offense. So do you think it's more likely now that Chris Paul adapts to the Warriors, or will the Warriors need to change the sort of a half-court pick-and-roll style of an offense? I don't see them doing it. So I think Chris Paul is going to need to adapt, or at least don't do primarily that half-court pick-and-roll stuff. Implement some of what the Warriors do, just with a little bit of pick and roll. Sort of what Tom Brady did when he went to the Buccaneers. The first, about 3/4 of the season, it was mainly Bruce Arians' offense. Tom Brady ran what Bruce Arians wanted him to run. And then remember, at the bye week, we saw a new offense come out. There was more motion. There was some more play action. Brady got into his style of offense with Bruce Arians and what's his name? Byron Leftwich's game plan of the no risk it, no biscuit style of an offense. So he implemented both styles, but you had your trial run. You actually had more of a trial run with the Bruce Arians, just pure no risk it, no biscuit offense. And then that bye week hit, Brady implemented his offense, and it worked fine. So maybe, you know what? Give it about a month or so. I would say about a month. Sort of do that second team does Chris Paul's offense, and if that doesn't work and your second team, as soon as Curry, Klay are off the court, your net rating just plummets, then Chris Paul has to adapt to the Warriors' style of offense. what I find it very, very fascinating is that the best starting five, when talking about net rating, the Warriors starting five was the best, hands down. A net rating, the Warriors were number one. So Curry, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Looney, the best starting five in the NBA. So you can't bench either one of those guys because they were the best starting five in the NBA last season. So Chris Paul, he's got an ego. It's got to drop. But if you're saying,
plus it's Steph Curry's team,
right?
So he's not
going
to give up being the point guard.
Obviously,
the starting point guard is not going to be Chris Paul. I'm sorry.
Well, you said what, 22 minutes a game for Chris Paul?
Yeah, I think during the season, playoffs, probably more.
Well, that would be a 10-minute decrease from last year. At 37 years old, he was playing about 32 minutes a game.
Yeah, and he got hurt.
And he did get hurt in the playoffs. But I still, like, people say that Chris Paul, you know, if he played against the Nuggets, the Suns would have had a better shot. I don't think so. Chris Paul was out there, you were getting annihilated. No one could stop the Nuggets. I mean, we saw what the Lakers did to the Warriors. The Nuggets swept them. 4 games. Now, the Lakers, I think, were in basically every single one of those games. They still got 4-0'd.
I know.
And look what the Heat did to the East. They won it more than every team in the East.
Plus, they're going to be upgraded. If they get Lillard, they'll be a better team than they had last year.
Here's the thing. I don't like.
Really, I mean, they in the playoffs. They were down. They were undermanned. They didn't have Tyler Hero.
Right.
They didn't have Oladipo.
Right.
They
didn't have him throughout the playoffs though.
And they played players that didn't play that much during the year. Duncan Robinson didn't play that much during the year.
He had confidence issues that you know was improved on this year. He came back with more confidence. But here's the thing: who's saying, right? Depending, like I saw a report a couple days ago. The Heat offered just Tyler Hero and 3 first-round picks. In my mind, we talked about this before. The Blazers don't want Tyler Hero, so stop offering him.
It's going to take a 3-team deal to do that.
And I agree with you on that. But who's saying that it won't be like Phoenix last year? You're really top-heavy, and then when Jimmy Butler and Bam come off the court, because they're going to play 40-plus minutes a game, you're going to have Dame and then just nobodies. It's going to be like the Suns. Who's saying that all of a sudden, oh my God, the Heat are going to be so good? Yeah, in the regular season, they might look great. And the Suns last year in the regular season with KD, they looked pretty good. I think, KD was undefeated in the regular season when he played with the Suns? They go into the playoffs, and as soon as you play, a strong team who has a solid bench like the Nuggets, look what happened. It needed a 70-plus combined performance, 70-point-plus combined performance from KD and Devin Booker to win you 2 games at home. And then when you went back to Denver, you got annihilated because you're too top-heavy. Who's saying that won't happen to Dame and the Miami Heat? I think that's a serious part. But to say that Chris Paul starting in the lineup, that is a bad idea. And I think me and you could both agree with it.
We agree on that one.
Let's get it's the
it's
moment.
Not to say I don't like Chris Paul.
No,
I do
Chris
like Chris Paul.
I say he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, so do I. And I love Chris Paul. I think he's a great player. I like his fire. I like his enthusiasm for the game. He's a real competitor, a great team player. I love the guy, but I just don't think he fits into the starting scheme of the Warriors. And as you say, they have the best starting 5 in the league was ranked last year. So yeah. I just don't see that, but we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
It's now time. The moment that everyone out there has been waiting for.
Yeah.
Me and you rank our top 5 best NBA jerseys of all time.
Actually did 7.
He did 7. He had 2 honorable mentions that I actually agree with. Some of those jerseys are actually pretty nice. But I will start with my top 5 first. I think this is pretty good. I don't think there's going to be a lot of debate, maybe about the placement, but the jerseys themselves, I don't think there's going to be a lot of debate amongst the viewers out there. But let's get into the first one. So number 5, I have the Los Angeles Lakers jersey from 1978 to 1999. The Lakers have had basically the same jersey for the entire history, just with little, changes. The 60s jerseys, the blue and the white, those were beautiful jerseys. That's the only major difference that the Lakers had within their jerseys. But this one is a little bit different than the modern day one, strictly because of that white displacement, the white drop shadow that they have. I think it works out pretty well. You got Magic Johnson showing it off. I think that's an absolutely beautiful jersey, and that is my number 5 spot. It's a classic. These are all classics. 1978 to 1999. That's basically, you had Magic. You had James Worthy. I think Wilt was even a part of that squad as well. So, I mean, this is like historical. This is a classic jersey. And I think we both have classic jerseys in our top 5, or in yours is a top 7. You need to have
yellow and purple.
Yeah,
yellow and purple.
You need to have a classic jersey in your top 5, I believe. But yellow and purple
you don't
looks
see
beautiful.
that go together very well. It goes well in there, nicely in there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Let's go with my number 4 spot. I got the 1997 to 2009 76ers. Now, the logo is beautiful. The jersey is also beautiful. The black, the gold, the red, the Sixers, the word logo, the font, everything works out beautiful. I mean, these Sixers back then with AI going up against Kobe in the finals, that was a great finals. It's just the 76ers were just undermanned. The Lakers were way too good. Shaq and Kobe, unstoppable the Lakers were in the late 1990s and early 2000s. But
Larry Brown was the coach then. He had a great defense. They played very good defense on the Sixers.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Sixers were dominant in that AI era, but like this jersey, this combination works absolutely beautiful. Some of you might have it, higher up there, but I think it has to be, somewhere at least in the top 10 if it's not in your top 5. Number 3, I remember using this jersey when I used to play 2K when I was the Miami Heat, because the Miami Heat were the best team in the NBA. And I always loved this jersey. It's not only this style of jersey, but it's the black. I'll just show it to you. This is the 1988 to 1999 Miami Heat. It's not only the white; it could also be the red and the black, or the black and the and the red. Those work beautifully. I just think this jersey works out phenomenally. You had this is the Heat's like beginning right here. This was when the Heat and the Knicks were going at it, and then.
Off the tee. It's always been one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I actually miss this jersey a lot because, first of all, the logo, again, I think this could also be a combination of jerseys and logos, because all these are like vintage logos as well that were actually pretty good. I mean, the Lakers, their logo's been the same basically for like ever. But like all these logos as well, they're absolutely stunning. And all this old Heat, the one where it's, a gradient from orange to red, I just think this works out beautifully. I mean, just look at that jersey. It's absolutely stunning. Now, once again, it doesn't only need to be the white and the red. It could be the red and the black, or the black and the red. But that style of jersey, the vintage Heat, I got to give it to him. That's my number 3 spot. My number 2 spot is the purple Raptors.
Oh, wow.
This is a beautiful jersey. This is also a vintage logo. I actually miss this jersey a lot. This is when the Raptors, they got Vince Carter.
Tracy McGrady.
They won a slam dunk. Vince Carter won a slam dunk contest in that jersey. It's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful jersey. And once again, the logo is insane. This is not only going to be a combination of best jerseys in the NBA. This could also be the best.
A T-Rex dribbling a basketball.
Well, it's a Raptor.
Oh,
it's a Velociraptor.
Yeah, it looks okay. That's smaller than a T-Rex.
It's the Raptors. It ain't the T-Rexes. So that's my number 2 spot. And to wrap up my number 1 spot, and I actually meant to bring a prop down. I got the early 2000s Warriors, specifically that white jersey. Now I have the blue and orange jersey, but that white jersey in particular. Steph Curry got drafted in this jersey. This was like the Baron Davis and it was Jason Richardson. He was in this jersey. The early 2000s Warriors in this jersey. That logo I don't quite understand. That looks more like a bootleg Flash than a Warrior. But I don't get that logo at all. But I just think the way that the Warriors jersey works, the Warriors going from the big W to the small S, the font, the color scheme. This is a completely different color scheme than they use today. This was like a dark blue, a strange orange, and then I guess the yellow may or may not be the same, or I guess you could call that another version orange. But this is a different jersey than they have now. Completely different jersey, completely different color scheme, and a completely different logo. I'm going to be thinking about that. That's like a bootleg Flash logo. I don't understand that logo whatsoever, because that doesn't look like a, I don't know. Someone in the comments will probably tell me. Also, a lightning bolt. They had a lightning bolt on their jersey, on the logo as well. So, yeah, those are my top 5 jerseys. And
very nice.
I really, really like this list.
Yeah, it's a very good list.
I don't think there's going to be much disagreement.
Well,
Probably
we'll
about,
see what mine are.
Oh, yeah. You're 7.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into your 7. So you have 2 honorable mentions.
Yeah.
So let's go with your
There's so many nice ones. It's hard for me to cut it down to 5. So I do have 2 extras here. My number 7 jersey would be the 1982 to 1993 Nuggets. I love the colors in there. I like the Rocky Mountains in there with kind of a high-tech look on the mountains. And I like Dikembe Mutombo in that uniform. He looks good. And the 55 up there in the corner and looks very nice. And the gold piping around the arms and the neck makes for a beautiful jersey and very colorful with the Nuggets lettering down there around the stomach and the NBA logo over there on the left hand, actually, lapel. I think it's a very nice jersey. Yeah. My number 6 jersey would be the Bulls 1985 to present jersey. And the one I picked especially was Michael Jordan wearing number 45, which is kind of a rare jersey. He didn't wear it very long. He wore it when he first came back from his hiatus when he went to play baseball. He wore it for a little while, and then one night he came out with just his warm-up jersey with his warm-up jacket over it. He warmed up, and then when they started the game, he ripped it open and he had number 23 on. But I love this jersey, the red lettering on the white uniform and the red piping. Very nice look, and worn by the greatest player of all time.
I will say this. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna give you a little trivia fact. So Michael Jordan wore 45, right? We also know he wore 23. There was one more number he wore.
In basketball?
In basketball, there was one more number he wore.
I didn't know that.
Can you tell me what number it is? I'll give you a hint. It's below both of the prior numbers. 23 and 45, it's below that.
When he played for the Bulls?
When he played for the Bulls in 1990.
His first year, or?
Well, it's 1990, so no, it's not his first year.
Oh. I didn't know I never knew he wore other than 23 or 45.
On Valentine's Day in 1990. Do you remember what number it is now?
14.
Close.
Well,
12.
Valentine's Day is 14.
12.
Why would it be 12?
His jersey got stolen before the game. He had to wear number 12.
Just one game, he wore number 12.
One game, he wore number 12.
Do they have a picture of it?
I don't know if I can't bring it up, but I'll show you sometime later in the show. But I just thought, a little trivia there. So for all you out there as well.
I didn't know that. I never knew that. Okay, now let's get into my top 5. Number 5 would be the jersey that you picked.
Yeah.
The Sixers jersey, and I like it for all the same reasons that you mentioned. I love the basketball with the trailing, looks like a swoosh, trailing the basketball. I love the star on the eye for the Sixers. I think that looks great. I like the red piping around the arms and the neck. And I like Allen Iverson. I think he wore that uniform well, and number 3 looks very good on it. So I think that's one of the better uniforms of all time. Yeah. Next, number 4. Number 4 would be the Hawks. This is kind of a unique uniform with the hawk spreading its wings, gripping a basketball. And again, we've got Dikembe Mutombo wearing it. He went to play for the Hawks, part of his career. I would have liked to seen Wilkins with that uniform on. He wore it very well too. And I actually went to a Knicks game where I sat right near courtside where Wilkins was playing, and Dominique had a great game, and he had that uniform on. So it was a beautiful uniform, and he played very well in that uniform. So that's a good one. Yeah. Next, number 3 would be the Nets, and here we have Dr. J wearing the uniform beautifully. I love the patriotic aspect to this uniform with the red, white, and blue, and the stars on the side of the uniform. The simple number with no piping around it, and true for the Nets name. The red stripe down the side there, it gives it more of a patriotic feel. I think that's a great jersey, and Dr. J played very well in that jersey. Number 2 would be the San Francisco Warriors, or the Golden State Warriors now. Back then, I believe they were called the San Francisco Warriors. And we have Steph Curry wearing it, but this jersey is one of their first ones, right? 1966 to 71. I love the city font there. It's really cool. I like the piping around it. I love the Golden Gate Bridge there underneath the number and the circle with the number in it. That's a uniform that they still, the different takes on it today, right? And it still looks great. Timeless beauty in that uniform.
That is their third jersey since the start. 1960.
Just only the third jersey.
Yeah, that was the third jersey. It also had like the caboose on the back, if you remember that. We have those jerseys. It has like that, or I guess it would it be a tram?
Yeah,
tram
it's a tram.
car? Tram car?
Tram car.
Just want to make sure I got that right.
And number 1, you might have guessed it, the Celtics uniform with Larry Bird wearing it, right?
I was deciding between Bill Russell and Larry. I couldn't get a good picture of Bill Russell.
Yeah. The leprechaun, right? The green, the Irish, Boston, 1970 to present. This uniform has been around a long time. Very simple. No piping around the numbers or the letters. A green stripe in between white piping around the neck and the shoulders there. Just a basic green uniform. I think it's timeless, and it represents the tradition of the Celtics very well, and their great record of winning so many championships early on and being very competitive in most years. I personally think the greatest franchise in NBA history. And those are my top 5 with 2 honorable mentions, Nate.
Well, you would basically be right. It would be a tie if you're talking about the most winningest franchise between the Celtics and the Lakers.
But the Lakers are not. That was not their original home. That's why I give the Celtics a edge up on the Lakers, and I love the Celtics a lot more than the Lakers. But the Celtics, they started in Boston, right? The Lakers are a Minnesota team. How would you name a Los Angeles team the Lakers? There's no lakes around there.
They got a big ocean.
A big ocean. They should call them the Pacifics or something.
The Los Angeles Pacifics.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, that would be bad.
Yeah, they call them the Lakers. There's no lakes in Los Angeles. Why are they called the Lakers?
At least no amazing lakes. I will say this, though. Since the start of when the Celtics were, which was 1946 to 47, they have retained the same name since 46-47.
That's a great name, Celtics.
I'm looking up the Lakers right now. The Lakers throughout their career, they got founded in 48 to 49. They went to Minneapolis, then they went to Los Angeles. So they started in Minneapolis back in 48 to 49, and that lasted until 59 to 60. And in 60 to 61, they became the Los Angeles Lakers. So there you go. There's a little history lesson right there. 46-47, the Celtics, Boston. That was their city since near what are we nearing now? 90 or 80 years now coming up too soon? 80 years of Celtics?
Yeah.
So there you go. Those were our top 5 jerseys, or you had a top 7. You had a top 5, but 2 honorable mentions. I want to go back to your list real quick. That Hawks jersey, that is a beautiful jersey.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I didn't even realize the Hawks, obviously, I knew the classic Hawks jersey. I've never seen that before in my lifetime.
You know what? With
not 2K, not nothing.
Mutombo wearing it, right? And the Denver uniform, the 55 was in the same spot, right?
Yeah, I was thinking that when I saw it. Yeah, I was thinking that.
So it's a little interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the players wearing these uniforms in these pictures are all Hall of Fame players.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's great. I want to go back because I do want to see that Nuggets one. That Nuggets one is very nice.
Yeah, it's cool.
That logo is like the Technic theme.
Yeah.
For the logo,
that goes back to 1982.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I mean, hey, this is not only a story about jerseys. This is also a story about, like I said, logos. I mean, the logos in each of these. I mean, you have the classics like the Lakers and the Celtics and even the Bulls. But we're talking about some really cool logos. The Heat logo, the 76ers logo, the Nuggets logo. You know, the old New Jersey Nets logo as well. Let's bring that up. Look at that old New Jersey Nets one.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, truthfully, I grew up with like that like sort of shield looking New Jersey Nets. So that's the one that I miss the most. And then you also have like the weird, you can't even see it because of the graphic, but the very simplistic version, you actually see it on Curry's jersey. The simplistic Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
It's not like coming from the side and you have like a little corner of the logo. It's just, a simple, very, very simplistic logo. That's what the old times were, just very, very simplistic. The Hawks logo, that's a pretty cool Hawks logo, I'm not even gonna lie. Like the Hawks logo now is just a circle, a little bit of a hawk. There was another rendition. The next version was the blue, the red gripping a basketball, the more modern version. But this vintage one is pretty cool. And that jersey, you don't see jerseys like this really anymore. Like the Hawks jersey, I don't think you'll ever see another jersey that cool like that. I think the Nuggets get close. The Nuggets do get close with their jersey, but you're not really seeing anything like this today.
Well,
Nowadays,
the marketing is such they want you to buy multiple jerseys of the same team. So
Right.
they have different versions of it. They use different colors. They have different schemes on the lettering and as such to try to interest people to buy more than one jersey of the same team. And I guess that's okay. But I think generally the traditional uniform for the teams that have been around for many, many years, their early jerseys to me are the best.
Yeah, no, I agree. We each had, vintage classic jerseys and logos.
Yeah.
I had the Lakers at 5. You have the Celtics at 1.
I'm sure
so-
you'll put this out there as a clip. We'll see what other people think with their...
Oh, absolutely.
Let us know what you think. What are the best uniforms of all time?
Well, we did this with the NFL jerseys a while back, and then you said, what was it? I think about a week ago, you said we should do the NBA. And
Yeah.
no, I mean it works out pretty well. We gotta do hockey next time.
Baseball.
But here's the thing: baseball doesn't have a lot of renditions with their jerseys.
Well, some of them do. Look at the White Sox. They had some really weird-looking jerseys.
I think right now, if I had to guess, I mean the coolest one was years ago. I think they still do it, where I think the home team was the white team, and then the black team was the away team.
Yeah.
I saw a Mets game on TV, and that was like the first game that they tried it out, and I thought, that was cool. I think we might do have this for baseball since the jerseys are primarily the same. If there's a lot of difference, that's what we'll do. But I think we should do logos for baseball, because I think there's more change with some of the logos than they are.
Yeah, well, logos would be great.
Yeah,
I'd like to do that.
I think
We'll try that.
because the Red Sox have changed the logos, the Yankees have a slightly different logo. The Rays used to be an entirely different team, or I guess an alteration of the team they are today. The Astros, they had a different... Well, we'll figure it out. We'll do that sometime in the future. But I think that wraps it up for today's episode of The Harvey Hour. Another great episode. My name's Stephen Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. You know where to catch us. Monday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. Make sure you guys check us out.
Night,
Dad.
Grandpa.
Have a good one.
Introducing video podcasts on Spotify
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch.
or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe
Interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.